So hello guys, so this one it would be the next part of the video series, the course. So in the previous part of the course I explained about the T-curve and trapezoidal curves and those kind of things. So it is something look like this, okay, if you remember. In this one I'm going to continue that one, and I will talk about the T-curve with a low pass filter. So this one is a series, so you can watch the previous video up here. Okay, after that I'm gonna go to the next tutorial and explain other type of profiles. Okay, so this time it would be the T-curve with a low pass filter. So without further ado, let's get to the tutorial. So okay, so what is a T-curve with a low pass filter? This one is very common in the Japanese servo makers. Okay, so what they do is that the issue with the T-curve is that it is too harsh. Okay, so what does it mean? It means that when you have a T-curve, the problem with the T-curve is that you have these sharp edges. Okay, so normally the movement, the very delicate movement or something like that, does not like that. Okay, it means that does not like, for example, immediately you put your leg on the accelerator. After that, for example, you suddenly remove. After that, put again your leg suddenly on acceleration again, right? So even when you drive, you don't do like that. Okay, when you put your leg on the, for example, gas pedal or acceleration pedal, you do it very slowly. Okay, slowly you increase the acceleration. After that you reach to the constant acceleration you want, and after that, for example, you do and remove this kind of things. Okay, so yeah, so this is the thing that the guys and these guys, they don't like that. So this is the reason that although for many applications, for most application, I would say that T-curve is more than enough. Just a simple motion profile will do. But for many applications, a simple solution to smoothen up this thing, okay, is just to add a filter to this profile. Okay, what does it mean by a filter? So I don't know you guys know what is filter or not. So I don't know you guys know what is filter or not, but the filter is something that it smoothen off the thing. So filter is something that it remove the noise. But in motion application, you can use a filter to less sharpen the edges of motion profile. Okay, even in the images also, if for example you have a sharp image, you can use filters to make it more smoother or something like that, make it more blend. So but in motion profile we can use the same concept. Okay, so we can put a filter. Okay, but the most important thing that when you are using the filter is that you cannot to put any type of filter that you want. Okay, so if you guys know, we have two type of filters. Okay, FIR filters and IIR filters. Okay, so what's the difference between the FIR filters and IIR filters? The main difference between the FIR filters and IIR filters is that the IIR filters, they have some sort of loop back, but the FIR filters, they don't have some sort of loop back. Okay, so that loop back cause something called DC bias. Okay, so I think they call it DC bias or something like that. So it means that if you do the same movement, for example, okay, so I just put it in. I don't want to go to more a lot of detail, but for example, for something like motion profile precision, it matter a lot. Okay, so what you want to that you don't want to have. You want, for example, if you do, for example, you go from 0 location to 1,000, and after that from 1,000 come to 0, you do this one for 10,000 times. Okay, you want to be the thing still precise, 0 0 and 1,000 supposed to be 1,000. Okay, so for these things you are not allowed to, for example, have something like a DC bias error, those kind of things. Like I think they call it the DC bias. I'm not sure what they call it. I forgot already. DC error or those kind of things. Okay, so the issue with the IR filters is that when you do this kind of things for example many repeated times, what will happen to them is that every single time, for example, they accumulate very small error. For example, 0.0001%. Okay, and the next time for example, they do another 0.002%. Okay, so what will happen to them is that after, for example, 1,000 times you go move back and forth and move back and forth, what will happen is that you are already off, for example, by 1 cm or 2 cm, this kind of thing. This is death. Okay, in robotics, this is death because you are not allowed to do, you are missing the precision. Precision is more important. So you may ask that why still people use IIR filter in the future. Yeah, IR filter, they have a much better sharp cutoff frequency. I don't know you guys know what is sharp cutoff frequency or not, but let me show you. So this one is the cutoff frequency. Okay, so cutoff frequency is something like this. Okay, so you see this thing is very important, that how sharp it is. So the sharper this thing it is, for many applications, the sharper the better. Okay, so for example, something like a motion profile, sharper the better. Okay, FIR filter normally they are not very sharp. It means that this thing it takes very long time to, for example, die. Okay, but for example, for IIR filters they are sharp, but they have a DC issue. That's what I call IIR filter DC. They call it DC offset. Sorry. So the name of the thing is DC offset. Okay, why not? Okay, let me write down the thing. So this is the reason why when we want to smoothen out a motion profile, we use always FIR filters. Okay, they don't have this DC offset issue. Okay, so it's beyond the scope of this tutorial to explain what is a really FIR filter. IR. This one is DSP stuff. But if one day you want to implement something like this, you want to do, for example, if you, for example, okay, you just create your motion profile. After that, for example, you create some sort of circular buffer, so you do windowing, right? So you guys, I hope you guys know what is windowing. Okay, windowing, for example, moving average or something like that. So windowing is exactly this. Yeah, this one. This is a very good image of windowing. Okay, let me copy this one. Okay. So windowing is something like this. It means that in each moment of time, what you do is that it is like image processing and stuff also. Image processing also, they have the kernel and the windowing. These concepts that they are, for example, in image processing, this thing is 2D. In here, the thing is 1D, so it's much simpler. Okay, so in image processing is more difficult, but the concept is something like this. For example, imagine you have any signal. Okay, so for example, you have this signal. Okay, so you keep the value of the previous cycles, for example, the previous samples that you get. First of all, you have to be a real-time system, which means that you have to be deterministic, and you have to get the samples at a fixed interval time. For example, for some application like this, if you are, for example, in current loop, each 250 microsecond, okay, each 250 microsecond, or for example, if you are a very good, for example, microcontroller stuff, each, for example, 50 microsecond, each 50 microsecond, you get the sample of the current. Okay, or for example, for motion profile, for velocity loop, normally you run it, for example, something between 250 microsecond to 500 microsecond. It means that half millisecond. So okay, every half millisecond, it means that you will calculate 1 point of motion profile. But when you calculate this part of the motion profile, you don't pass it directly to your system. What you do is that you window it. What does it mean by windowing it? You do exactly the thing that you see in here. So for example, now you have the current value, you have the previous and current value, the previous, and the previous of that one. So you have the last 4 values that you have calculated. So now rather than, for example, fitting the last value that you calculated, what you do is that you average these 4 together. So you have different algorithm also. You don't need to average them. Okay, average is the simplest one. Okay, so this one they call it moving average. Moving average is actually some sort of window. Okay, so but for example, moving average is the simplest one. So but for example, you can have Gaussian filters, whatever you can play with these things. Okay, it depends to you. You want to be more sharper, so you want to, for example, value the latest value the most, or for example, you want something less sharp. Okay, so you can play with your moving average, and also that every time you move what I mean that you can play with it, it means that you can have different weights for each part of the, for example, the window. For example, okay, so if you give all the weights equally, okay, what will happen is that this one, doesn't have a very good cutoff. It won't be very sharp, but it depends to you. For example, sometimes you want to be sharp, sometimes you don't want to be sharp. So by playing with the weight, for example, if you make, for example, the last one more weighted and the first one less weighted, this kind of thing, you can get something sharp or something like that. The size of the window matter. Two things in terms of the window matter. One is the size of the window. How long is the window? How many previous samples you get? Another one is the weight. Okay. So this one among FIR filters. So for example, at first you have to choose, you want to go to FIR or IIR. The IIR is totally different game. The IIR is not this simple. The IIRs, you have to really do some stuff. Okay, between that you just cannot to talk like the way that I do. This one is like very ordinary people talk. Okay, but for FIR you play normally with 2 things only. Okay. Normally, okay. So one is the size of the window. Okay, how many samples, how many previous samples we want. Another one with the weight. Okay, it means that each sample, how much value it has. For example, the first sample has, for example, for example, okay, 100%. The second sample has 90%. Okay, so when you add all of these things, okay, so they're supposed to be add up together to become one. Okay, it's in that the probability of the thing supposed to become one. For example, if the first one is 10%, second one is 10%, third one is 10%, so it's supposed to be 10 of them. Okay, but if the first one is 20%, okay, the second one is supposed to be, for example, 5%. After that, third one, for example, 10%. When you add up all the percentages, you have to reach to 1. Okay, so this is the way that it works. So for the thing function well, okay, so the thing is supposed to work like that. Okay, so like that you can create a moving average and so on and so forth. So when you do this moving average, what will happen? Okay, so this one, it was your original motion. This one also I find it from Yaskawa. These Japanese guys, they love this algorithm. Okay, so the first time I saw this one, it was in alpha. I think it was in Fuji Alpha. Okay, so the very first time I saw it, I think it was in Fuji Alpha, if not mistaken. Okay, after that, all of them they have, even for example the Western brands, like for example someone like Elmo, they have this. Okay, so what they do is this. So they just put a moving average, and after that you feed into them the motion profile, and after that they smoothen out the motion profile. What does it mean? That when they smoothen out, for example, 100% to 100%, the original motion profile, it was this blue, but in reality after you smoothen it off, you see it become more smoothen. It means it's not as sharp. Okay, so it doesn't go suddenly from 0 to, for example, 500. Okay, so the speed does not go, so it become less sharp. Okay, so the thing, it become more smooth. So it depends that how much you want to smooth it. Again, when you want to smooth it, okay, how long is your, how many sample you get, and what is the weight of them. Okay, this is the main two factor that it depends. It impacts the sharpness of the, for example, your smoothing algorithm. So what is the ugly thing about this one? The ugly thing about this one is that you create a phase lag. Okay, let's talk bad things about this. Okay, phase lag. So you have to compensate the phase lag by making the profile. If you want to achieve exactly the same profile as before, you have to make the profile faster. What does it mean? It means that you have to play with the parameter. You cannot use, okay, if you use the same acceleration and deceleration, okay, and after that one is a smoothen, another one is not a smoothen, okay, the timing of both of them won't be the same. Okay, so you have to compensate like in your profile itself. Okay, it means that you have to make it shorter or whatsoever. You increase your acceleration, deceleration if you want to achieve the same timing. But if you don't want to achieve the same timing, so why this one it happened? Because every time you add a filter to any system, okay, any natural system, when you add a filter to it, okay, what you do is that you are adding phase lag to the system. What does it mean, phase lag? It means that the phase lag, it means that originally this one supposed to be started here, but now is lagging. So in time is lag. So previously was here, now start later than where it was, right? So it is something like that. Okay. The bad thing about this is this. Okay. The second bad thing about this, I don't know I have the picture or not, but yeah, I have the picture over there. But the second bad thing is that this one, it won't be as beautiful as beautiful as a calculated profile. Okay, so to demonstrate this one, let me show you in a very severe case. Okay, imagine I have a infinite acceleration, right? So if you have an infinite acceleration and you put it to a low pass filter, okay, so this one, it become exactly a step response, right? So when you give a step response to a low pass filter, what you get? Okay, this is the type of the curve you get. So this is not a smooth motion, this is like exactly a filtered step response. So what is how supposed to this motion supposed to look like? If for example this one, it was a normal S curve, the thing supposed to be smooth and not this beautiful. So it's not that beautiful anymore, right? So for example, it is not really a smooth. Okay, so you just filter it. Okay, do you get what I mean? It means that it is not like he is filter. Okay, you have to expect him filter. Okay, so but this one is very good. Okay, so the why this one is very good is because it's simple. So especially in motion application, to be honest with you, you need to have a motion profile. But more important than the motion profile itself is that your torque, your tuning, this and that, these kind of things. And for example, if for example somebody, the selling point of a motion control, to be honest with you, the selling point of, for example, a motor driver or something like that, is supposed not to be a motion profile. So the main point is not motion profile. The motion profile, for most application, I would say, actually the better thing to say is that for most application, for 99% of the application motion profile, even a T-curve will perform. So the issue is not the motion profile, but for that is the reason is that even, for example, first of all, the T-curve will perform. Okay, so even you don't need to even filter it. Okay, but if a T-curve does not perform, you need to have a little bit more a smoother motion or something like that. You can try the low pass filter. So this one is simple. Okay, so you can develop this one also yourself. Okay, so you don't need to have somebody like rocket scientist to do the S-curve, for example, with jerk and those kind of things. Okay, so this is the point. Okay, so to be honest with you, most of the, for example, controller and driver that you see in today's world in the market, they are over. Okay, so because the vendors, they have to sell, right? So they have to have a selling point. They have to say that we are better and those kind of things. So they are selling you the things that it is not really necessary. So for example, something like a S-curve or something like that, it is, for most application, I would say that it is unnecessary. So 1 out of a million, it is necessary. So this one is supposed not to be a selling point of the thing. Okay, so there are more factors than this for example, for movement and those kind of things. Okay, so if you want to achieve a, for example, simple movement for example, with, for example, a motion profile, a low pass filter may do the job for you. It is not the most optimized solution. Okay, but it will does the job. So it's better that you can save money, right? So you don't need to have the most advanced motion profile, right? So it just do fine. Okay, it is not the best performing solution, but it just does fine. Okay, so yeah, so this one regarding this. Okay, after doing this, the bad. So the good is simple and cheap. Good is simple and cheap. Easy, simple, and easy, simple, and cheap. Okay. So this one also is the way that they say that's supposed to look like, but in reality it won't look like this. It will, in reality, it will never look like this. Okay. So this one is a phase lag. This one is an example of the phase lag that I wanted to show you. So phase lag is something like this. So the first one, for example, he started. After that, the second one started. When you have a phase lag, they won't be on top of each other. The second one, it will delay after he gets started. So okay, so for this video is enough. So this one is unprofessional way to do a scare, but it will work. In the next tutorial, I will go to the first advanced stuff. Okay, so more advanced stuff. So S-curve is more advanced. So in the next video, I will go to how the S-curve works. Okay, so this one is a S-curve with a jerk. So this one, I think it has more than jerk. Yeah, this one it has even a snap. So this one is more complicated. This one is S-curve with jerk. Okay, so yeah. So we have S-curve. We have different type of S-curve, higher order, lower order, this kind of thing. So in the next tutorial, I'm going to through those. Okay. So thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next video.